Activate recording. Okay. Okay, great. So I'm really happy that, we are on to week class two. And in class two, we are actually going to focus on figuring out how to come up with the cutting edge ideas. And, if you look at it, if you look at the startup industry, there are waves of new startups that come in different ideas, and since India is kind of behind the curve in terms of startups, and as a consequence, what ends up happening is that Indian entrepreneurs miss out on opportunities to be at the cutting edge, where a lot of opportunity, business, and profits are, right? And an opportunity to come up with, massive companies that have a major impact. So now, because we're offering this entrepreneurship course, and because it's now become a flat world, you guys have access to all the information that the internet provides, and all the technologies that we have in the US are actually available pretty much in every town in India. And I think what I felt was that what was missing was the awareness to understand that you don't have to just be at the receiving end. You can also be the driver of opportunities and new ideas and companies straight away at the cutting edge. There's no reason why Indian companies have to be 5, 10 years behind the US companies. For example, some of the most exciting startups that everybody talks about in India right now, companies like Flipkart, Snapdeal, or others, are all like, probably 8, 10 years after Amazon got started and became successful in the early 2000 and things like that, right? So, but nowadays, there is no reason why India cannot be the driver of the next generation of startups, right? Entrepreneurs in India have access to all the information. So, I asked you guys to come up with an idea for a startup, and I saw a few submissions. I've not seen enough submissions from you guys, so I don't know what the problem is. But you must do your homework, and you must upload your homework. And and one point to note is that only one file can be uploaded. So when you have a homework with 2 or 3 questions and you put them in different files, merge all the questions into one file and upload it. Okay, so if your homeworks and assignments are not turned in, you are not going to get a certificate from Northeastern University. So you paid the fees, but you're not going to get a certificate. So just be clear that every homework needs to be turned in. Even if one homework is not turned in, you're not going to get your certificate. Okay, so attendance is compulsory, homework is compulsory. The only way you learn things is when you do things by yourself, right? That is my principle, and I feel that that's a must for every entrepreneur, that you have to do personal work, right? So, I think it should be very clear. I don't want to repeat it again. That attendance is compulsory, and homework assignments is compulsory. And with one click, I can see who has submitted the homework and not submitted the homework. So right now, when I clicked on it about 3 hours back, I found that out of the 25 students that we have attending this class, only 4 students had uploaded their homework. So, you guys are going to make Northeastern's life easy because they won't have to issue you guys completion certificates. Okay, so that is a strong message that I wanted to give you guys, because I think the guest speakers who come on this class, myself, we put, and like other charter members, we've all put in a lot of work in order to bring this content to you. We need to see that you are taking advantage of it, right? So it's really for your benefit that some of these rules are made. Okay, so let me go ahead and share with you a presentation made by Sandy Carter, who's a general manager at IBM, and the division that she's responsible for is basically a startup group, right? She's an evangelist for entrepreneurs starting new companies. And IBM really wants to foster entrepreneurs in the latest cutting edge technologies, and obviously they want everybody to use the IBM services and platform. And as you become successful, IBM will get good business from you. But the important thing is that you will be able to start your companies on the same level as all the entrepreneurs in the US, Europe, Japan, China, all the cutting edge countries that are now racing to develop cutting edge products, right? So this presentation that I'm going to make is going to be probably new to most of you, but I need you to start thinking at the same level as the entrepreneurs in the rest of the world are thinking, right? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. So this was a presentation made by Sandy Carter at TiECon. TiECon is the Silicon Valley Entrepreneurship Conference. There were about 4,800 people there from pretty much all over the world, but mostly Silicon Valley and US. But we had probably around 600 people from abroad. And Sandy Carter, who's general manager at IBM, made this presentation of the new era of digital applications. And this is actually, you should listen to this particular tape. It's an audio clip as you, on your own after the class, okay? So we will have the class. I will go through her slides myself because I attended the talk, but I've actually captured her speech also. So you should listen to her 45-minute speech and go through the slides click through the slides as she's talking. And it'll give you pretty much a very good idea of where she sees the opportunity in digital applications. So according to Sandy Carter and IBM, and she's got 1,000 people working for her in this particular area. So according to her, there are 5 new technology areas or technology platforms that are going to be the drivers for new innovative entrepreneurial companies. IoT stands for Internet of Things. Gamification is, basically applications that, feel like a game. Uh, Blockchain is a brand new building block for building financial applications, and it's going to revolutionize what we call is fintech, financial technology. And then design thinking is a new is the way to think of an application which is intuitive. So from day one, your application becomes very user friendly and intuitive, and is very quickly uh, uh, adopted by the user base. And one key element of this next generation of digital applications is that they are cognitive. And I'll define what cognitive is on the next slide. So these are the 5 new technology trends that are driving digital applications. And whatever startup idea you come up with can incorporate 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe all 5 of these new concepts. Now, it's not so easy for an entrepreneur to have all the intelligence to, understand all of these things. But the way Silicon Valley and entrepreneurs here do things is that they leverage something called open source and the open source cloud stack that goes with it. And as a consequence, what happens is that for gamification, for cognitive applications, for pattern recognition, there are standard libraries that are available, and these libraries are all available for you to use in your application, which allows you to rapidly prototype and develop something that is very cutting edge and which is impactful from day one. So, so it's important to get comfortable and familiar with all the underlying libraries for these 5 areas of 5 trends in digital applications, so that your applications start reflecting, don't look antiquated, and are not obsolete. Okay, so what is cognitive computing? Cognitive computing has 3 elements to it. First is that the application seems to almost be human. The application is something that seems to understand what you want to say. If you have a natural language interface, you don't have to do programming, or you don't have to, go ahead and explain too much. You just, based on your context and so on, it automatically understands what you're trying to get to. Then it can apply logic to the understanding that it has received, and then it can learn so that it becomes smarter every day. So all of a sudden, when you empower or you go ahead and incorporate the concepts of cognitive computing into your applications, they just become smarter and smarter, and they become something that just becomes a part of your life. If you look at a lot of smartphone applications, you will soon find that there are the old-fashioned applications, and then there are the smarter new applications. The smarter new applications that are coming are those that incorporate the concepts of cognitive computing. So nobody can become an expert. It takes tens of thousands of software engineers to come up with all the technology behind creating a cognitive app, even on a smartphone or an iOS device. And there is no way that, you as an entrepreneur can go ahead and hire 10,000 of these best and brilliant people. But on the other hand, a lot of their building blocks are available these days in open source. So IBM makes available a whole bunch of cognitive services on the cloud. And as soon as you go ahead and sign up, which is a free sign up on their platform, and I'll give you the URL, etc. And you'll see that, all of these building blocks, like how to have a dialogue, how to get visual insights from pictures, how to do visual recognition, how to do natural language processing, how to do language translation from English to Hindi to Spanish to French, how to get personality insights, how to do relationship extraction, how to analyze tones, for example, in sound, how to do speech to text conversion, text to speech. All of these services are available for you to just plug into your application. Obviously, you need, and this is only in one block, which is the question and answer block that is there. Like there are, when you go to Bluemix, which is a website, and I'll give you the URL for that, you'll see that for pretty much all the building blocks that you need for your application are available. And what is important for you is to learn how to integrate, how to build your application on top of these kinds of building blocks, so that, and then using all the libraries to go ahead and rapidly prototype your application. Okay, so basically the speed at which people do something called MVP, minimum viable product development, now becomes exponentially faster. So you end up developing a demo of whatever concept you have in a matter of one night. In 24 hours you can do it. You don't have to do it over 3 months or 6 months, and that is what allows you to do interactive testing. You can develop your app, you can run it by customers, you can go back and make changes, and everything starts becoming very, very fast. And that's what allows you to rapidly innovate and create applications that are very customer responsive. For example, say you want to do get an insight into an image. So then, basically you create a custom classifier, and you can have 50 positive images from your library of images that you say, hey, these are positive images, and then these are negative images from your cell phone or from your library. And then the custom classifier will automatically go ahead and put them in different categories. And then you take another module called Image Insight from the Watson library, and then you can identify images that represent a pizza, for example. You can have 25 different kinds of images of pizzas from different angles, so with different toppings, with different shapes, different sizes. But based on these two modules that you've got from the Watson library, you can automatically identify and classify images that represent a pizza. And so this allows you to derive insights from images to code more powerful solutions. For example, if you decide that you are going to develop a cognitive or a smart travel search engine that talks to people. So like at Conrad Hotel, which is like Hilton Hotel's partner, they basically have got a robot. It's an application, and that uses some of the Watson API. For example, a natural language translator, a recognition tool, a speech to text tool, a text to speech tool, something that allows dialogue to happen. So every time you say, when you reach there, like the IoT device recognizes you and says, "Hello, how are you?" So that's and then as you respond, "My name is this." So this says, "Okay, thank you for your name. My name is this, Mr. Watson, Mr. Smith, or whatever it is." So you can create a dialogue, and then there is a Watson engagement advisor. So you can see that standard building blocks of what robotic concierge would be can be built using standard Watson API. So now let's move on to the second trend, which is cognitive IoT, or smart Internet of Things. So IoT is basically sensors that you can put in many different places. For example, you can put a sensor at every spot in a parking lot, and automatically you can have an application which says, okay, there are 3 spots open in aisle 3 on 7th floor. So you don't have to go looking through all the different aisles, but you can go straight away to the 7th floor and figure out. So an IoT device is a sensor that also has internet capability, and which can be accessed by a smart application, a cognitive application, which will automatically provide some value to the consumer or the business. And this whole cognitive IoT is going to be a massive business. For example, they are estimating that it is going to be a 4.5 trillion dollar market. I'm sorry that I took a very fuzzy picture here, but whatever it is, these are all massive numbers, and the message is that connected devices are creating opportunities and an explosion of IoT startups. And the great thing is that we have an IoT entrepreneur, Kittur Nagesh, who has already started his company, got some initial funding, and is already moving right along. And he is going to give us a feel for how he developed how he visualized his IoT opportunity and company, and then how he got started. Here is an example of how with the Watson software you can have a cognitive dress. So here is a dress that this supermodel is wearing, and it's got IoT devices which change color based on messages that are provided through smartphones. So if the entire crowd feels that she needs to have a red dress or a flashing red, blue, green dress, they can basically provide that message, and then automatically her dress will change colors. And so as it testing device, there is actually a robotic dress tech kit, and you can actually buy this kit, uh, do some software, grab some software from Watson and Bluemix, and all of a sudden you have the ability to create amazing, wedding dresses. And India is so big on dressing and fashion that, you can actually come up with some amazing stuff. Uh, Gamification is the third trend. And the important thing is that all these four trends or five trends can be standalone basis for a startup, or you can mix and match them to create, startups which are even more exciting. So gamification is a concept, is a trend, which can be a powerful agent of change. And big areas that are being affected by gamification is experiential learning, solving problems in business, and influencing. So in healthcare, defense, gamification, education games, there's tremendous amount of opportunity to take some of the cognitive thinking and some of the design thinking that we'll come to in a minute, and revolutionize these industries with these technologies. So, for example, some of the tools that Watson provides for gaming are how to retrieve and rank different options, how to do trade-off analysis. Should I fire a gun? Should I jump over the fence? Or should I, ask the Air Force to come in and drop a bomb? The dialogue, personality insights, IoT module, tone analyzer. So all of these building blocks are available in the gaming segment of Watson. In this gamification, here is an example of a startup that came up with the cyber defense training area. And basically it shows how people can be trained in cyber defense, which is a very major area even in India right now. Security for cyber attacks is a massive area where a lot of entrepreneurs can who jump into that market can go ahead and come up with solutions that are going to be very well received. So here is a company called Spark Cognition that develops cyber defense training games. And then for the financial industry, if that's the industry that you want to be in, blockchain is the new emerging platform. And blockchain is a shared, trusted, public ledger that everybody can inspect, but nobody controls. And essentially, with this shared ledger is a book, accounting book, where money coming in, money going out, history, future, projections, all of that is available. And then when you apply modules like consensus, smart contracts, security cryptography, all of a sudden you reduce the time, cost, and risk for all kinds of financial transactions. And all of a sudden, you can revolutionize, and not you, but there are entrepreneurs who are revolutionizing how money is transferred, and companies in India like Zoom, etc., Bitcoin, all of these leverage the blockchain platform in order to do it. So this blockchain is regarded as something that's going to be the disruptive technology across industries, and it's going to have impact of $15 to $20 billion a year within 5 years. And they're calling it the Internet of Value. And So because it's all about money, so it's the internet of value, MIT is actually shared three papers, white papers, which I will show you in a minute, on blockchain and what it's going to be doing across industries. And so if you're interested in the financial space, then this is the platform on which you want to build your thing. And here is an example of channel financing use case where you're financing products that you ship to China or you ship to Japan or whatever, and you use blockchain in order to go ahead and do the transaction in a most cost effective and efficient way. So the next and the final thing is design thinking. And the whole idea, and this design thinking needs to permeate all your applications so that the experience that people get when they use your product automatically makes everything work together, work the same, and work for me at the same time. And so the application is designed so that it's very intuitive and appropriate from day one. And the whole idea is to design it with users first in mind. It should be fun to use, it should be aesthetically pleasing, and it should be very clear. So all your applications need to have this basic capable thing designed in. So this can be applied to, for example, a running app that they've designed it in for, or for a brush, which will, a toothbrush, which is, which has the ability to kind of see whether all the teeth have been brushed, whether, so basically by doing all of this, now they've come up with a brush, which has got IoT devices in it, got application software in it, and it's connected to your smartphone, and it's gamified. And you can see that it's possible to even take a normal day-to-day product and make it super smart. So how do you get started? Basically, you go to www.bluemix.net, and you can then go ahead and take a look at everything that they offer. And if you do decide to go ahead, then actually IBM gives you, lots and lots of freebies in order to get your product prototyped and developed. So the the thing that I want everybody to do as a project, and we'll kind of close our call today. We'll give half an hour in the middle for you to go ahead and discuss and form teams of 3 to 5 people in Mumbai and in Nagpur, and then come up with 4 or 5 ideas after brainstorming for 20 minutes that one of you can present to the whole class, right? So we should have about 6 or so, between 4 and 6 ideas that will use some of the technologies that we talked about here and pitch it. Okay, so with that, let me stop sharing the presentation, and let's see if there are any questions. Yeah, so are there any questions about this whole IBM presentation? Do you think you guys will be able to come up with the ideas that leverage these 5 concepts, these 5 major trends? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Right. I'm sure you will, right? I mean, because if I look at India, it's full of opportunity. So
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you give like this blockchain some example which is currently there in the market?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is share with you. So, this is our idea to business plan video, EdCast portal, and we are doing week 2. If I click on week 2, there's IBM presentation here. Then there is the info on various trends. So if I click on videos and white papers, you'll see that I have shared with you 3 papers from MIT on blockchain and financial technology. So if you click on so this is an MIT. Oh, this is part 3. Sorry. Let's see. Part 2. Okay, so this is part 1, and this paper will basically give you a good introduction to blockchain, and you'll see how networking has evolved from internet to World Wide Web to cloud, mobile, and now it's blockchain. Okay, so it'll give you most of us think that this is where the world is, but this is what's coming. So blockchain is the next evolution of this networked world, and then it gives a very good understanding of everything that is, what are the benefits of blockchain, and then it'll tell you, everything about blockchain, right? So I would recommend that you read up these 3 articles, and that should give you a fairly good idea about blockchain. But I suppose you've already heard of something called Bitcoin, correct? You've heard of Bitcoin?
Yes.
Yeah, so Bitcoin is kind of the first large-scale example of the impact of blockchain. Okay? Good question. Any other questions?
Yeah, on the cognitive thinking, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so while it is very good that more of artificial intelligence concepts are going to come into day-to-day applications, I have a concern on traceability. So, for example, the most common example is the driverless car, and that meets with an accident. Whose responsibility was it? Is it the car that went haywire, or is it the pedestrian who was wrong, etc.? The legal and other issues of traceability of what exactly happened when something was wrong with community application.
Yeah, so basically, with every time there is any breakthrough of technology or breakthrough idea which changes the status quo, a lot of societal impact will be happening, right? And the important thing for an entrepreneur is not to worry too much about all of those kinds of consequences, because uh, those things will be solved as society evolves into accepting the new technologies. So, for example, like, there was a time when on Facebook, nobody felt, everybody felt that how can I share my private information? What if there are child molesters on Facebook? What if there are criminals who are going to find out, who my friends are and so on, and find out that I'm vulnerable. So all of these societal issues, if Facebook had worried about before they launched the company, then basically, that company would have never taken off. So what happens is that it's this is the one thing that as an entrepreneur, I always used to worry about, and most entrepreneurs worry about, but that is, that'll be a problem only when you become successful. Okay? So, but when you become successful, you'll have the ability to solve that problem. So, most entrepreneurs don't succeed because they worry about the wrong thing when when they're getting their idea started and the company started. So focus on, figuring out why your idea is a good idea, and try to focus on, what will make the customer really like to you. Why would he really want to use your product? Think of that first. And so we always call in entrepreneurship the negative issues that was just that was rightly raised as a problem of success. But once you become successful, you have the ability to solve the problem. So I would say that as an entrepreneur, don't worry about these things. Simple answer.
Raj, I just want to.
Not so much on the ethical issues here, or the negative connotations of acceptance by society, etc. But the basic testability of what you're doing. From a computer science perspective, when I put together a cognitive engine that is learning, how do I ensure, how do I verify that it's working right?
Yes.
Can I do that? Statistical tools that can help me. Are there toolkits already available which you can deploy in my solution?
Yeah. So that's the benefit of using the libraries that have already been validated in open source on the Watson platform and by Bluemix and so on. See, because you're using validated applications and libraries, you don't have to, you're already writing your application on the shoulders of giants, right? So you are building your application on top of things that have already been validated by lots of technical gurus all over the world. And as an entrepreneur, what's more important is for you to figure out, how to use the technology that has been developed by other people to solve the problem that you have in mind. You see what I'm saying? So remember, your focus is to solve your problem in a superior fashion, right? If you solve your problem like everybody else, you've got no competitive edge in the marketplace. So you want to solve your problem in a superior fashion. And what I'm sharing with you right now is how the entrepreneurial world is building world-class applications to solve problems. So for example, a lot of what you saw today are building blocks that go into Uber, that go into Facebook, that go into every kind of device that it goes into Fitbit, the health application device. It goes into Apple Watch. So these are the building blocks that allow entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley and in other places to build cutting edge projects. And now these are available to you. And you need to still focus on solving problems that you see in India, in your country, in your university, in your workplace, whatever. You're still solving the problem in your environment, but you're solving it with world-class tools, okay? So I want you to start thinking how to make your solutions world-class. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what kind of application you're planning to do. I want you to apply cognitive intelligence to it. I want you to apply gamification to it. I want you to apply design thinking to it. I want you to apply IoT capability to it. If possible, even blockchain. So I want you to think of how to take the problems that you're solving in India for the Indian market, but with the world's greatest technology. Okay? So
Raj, I just want to make one quick comment on that.
Yeah.
The question that was asked, by the way, every entrepreneur gets every day lots of the same types of questions. There are 9 different ways to kill a project, right? But as an entrepreneur, you're going after the one thing that will make it successful. You find your right segment, the right type of use case, then there is money to be made. So this optimism is fundamental to be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying you shouldn't address the negatives, but focus on the positive, like Raj said. That should be the driving factor. There'll always be a segment for whom it meets the needs and they'll pay the money. And you don't go after the 9 people that don't pay the money. You go after the 1 person out of 10 that pays the money and build a business.
very good. Excellent. Okay. So I think let's take a 10-minute break when I want all of you to form groups of 3 to 5 people and just talk about ideas that you might have and how you would take those ideas and how you would use some of the cutting edge technologies that we talked about. And let's meet in exactly 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, Kittur will give a presentation on why he gave up his corporate job in order to start an IoT company, I think 2 years back, 2.5 years back. Okay? So let's take a 10-minute break where all of you have a little brainstorming session among yourselves and think of ideas where you can apply some of the technologies that we talked about. Okay? Thanks. Okay, Kitur, if you can come back on. Okay, till Kitur comes back, can we have, has any of the teams wants to share your idea?
The Indian products. Much of I'm not sure about we started and the Indian hospital in cities.
So Kitur, one of the teams is going to share their idea. So let's listen to it, and then you can come on board. Okay, go ahead. Let's listen to the one idea. No, let's listen to your idea first. Yeah, go ahead.
Myself, Nilesh.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, sir. I have come up with an idea of a telepresence robot.
You know, your face is being cut off by the. Can you sit down? Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, sit down.
Sit down so that your face. Otherwise, you're being put by the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have come up with an idea of a telepresence robot.
Okay.
Wherein we can make use of the IoT devices.
Okay.
Basically, video conferencing on wheels.
Okay.
Yeah. So this has application basically in the healthcare industry, wherein the hospitals, there is an ICU where the super specialist admits a patient who is very serious, right? And if suppose by chance if the doctor sees the patient, admits the patient and settles the patient down, and when he goes out of the hospital, and suppose if the patient gets serious, he gets a call saying that the patient is serious. So if we have a telepresence robot kept in the ICU by the bedside, wherein he can directly log into the robot and directly see the patient, as well as do a video conferencing also and guide the juniors also as to how we can get the patient treated.
Now, why do you need a robot again? Because why not just a video conference?
Yeah. The need of the robot is if you use you can use a webcam also in this case, right? But basically the webcam is actually situated somewhere upstairs, right? And that is statuary, it cannot move, right? Instead of using a webcam, you can use a robot which has a video conferencing screen, which directly which can adjust the height and anybody can see the robot, and he can easily guide the junior also.
Okay. So clearly, you're beginning to think in the right way. So I would say that you need to talk to your team and think of how to make a compelling case for why you need what you need, right? You have to make a compelling case, otherwise people will keep asking questions. Okay, great. Let's take a look at Kitu's presentation. And but this is a good start for how to start thinking about creating cutting-edge starting projects. Okay, Kitu, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. And good morning to you all in India. I will use the slides just as a reference for the conversation. Like all of Raj's classes, many of which I've taken, it is a conversation. It's a dialogue. It's a two-way street. It's not a monologue. Can you all see my business card? Hello?
Yes. We see your slides. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Despite Nagesh being my last name, I go by Nagesh. I'm originally from Bangalore. Been living in the Bay Area for almost 25 years. Mostly in networking. Started my career designing chips and systems at Intel and HP, and then moved into a multitude of product management roles across routing, switching, wireless, IoT, cellular networks, communications, interoperability, so on and so forth. I have a master's in EE and an MBA from Wharton, and I've filed for over 30 patents, 16 of which have been granted. What Raj suggested, and I fully agree with, is I will focus on 4 things in my presentation / conversation. Why I started Cognito Networks with a focus on the enterprise IoT, and what problems we attempted to solve, and why we felt there was money to be made, and where we are in terms of the company. Actually, company is about 18 months old, and I'll close it off with use cases and applications, because frankly, we have reached a world where the more transparent the technology is to the business, the more they reap the rewards and benefits. And we'll have ample time for Q&A. Feel free to interrupt whenever you want. Why did we start Cognito Networks? Several things have come together, like Sandy mentioned. This is the time for IoT. For those that might have followed me, I have gone on record saying IoT will go to the atomic level, because people are capturing differentials in electrons. And I used to give that as an answer every time people ask me, how will you support these billions of devices? Every enterprise has millions, correct? Okay, if you capture differentials in electrons, how will you support trillions? And lo and behold, I wasn't very far off. IBM actually has advertisements talking about trillions as the foundation for IoT, with smart cities, connected cities, so on and so forth. Several things came together to make that happen. One, mobility has become ubiquitous. Whether it is Wi-Fi, cellular, or different spectra, it's available everywhere. And I think India is on the leading edge here, because there's no need to trench, no need to dig to lay fiber or lay cable. Second, the cost of these chipsets, whether it's Zigbee, Wi-Fi, etc., are less than $5, believe it or not. And so people are putting it literally everywhere. Raj was mentioning toothbrush, correct? They are putting it on wallets, on consumer items, bikes, you name it, correct? Ultimately, every barcode may become IoT enabled, correct? So there's no limit because of the ubiquity. Third, with the AWS and the cloud computing, you can experiment new applications and services effortlessly. For example, our startup, which is now generating revenue, we didn't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions to come to this stage. We leveraged the cloud on AWS and built a global team between Bangalore and Silicon Valley and created it in less than, we had a prototype in less than 6 months, our first customer in less than 12 months. Of course, we had great support from mentors, including Raj. But the cost of creating innovation has gone way down, and the boundaryless notion of technology has made the innovation available everywhere, including India. So it's a flat world, like Raj said, and you need to capitalize on it. There's no barrier, no boundary. And the third reason is enterprises are rethinking their IT. Right? They're more comfortable with IT being outsourced, more comfortable not having their network owned. They'd rather lease it on AWS or Rackspace without compromising security or their business. So these three things have fundamentally transformed the notion of network of networks, and therefore timing was right for IoT. It's not a new concept. Sensors have been around for 25, 30, 40 years, 50 years, but they were all expensive, siloed, proprietary. Now with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, Ethernet, ubiquity of IP, the notion of proprietary applications and networks is fast going away, and the enterprises are revisiting how they create the new applications and services. And along with that came the problem that all these silos are there. How do you build a unified layer? Because I will actually give you a few nuggets in my presentation because I've been in this industry long enough. The IoT decision making will not come from any single siloed application. I was recently at a lighting conference. Guess what? All the policies were around lighting and time of day. But believe it or not, with IoT, the lighting decision will come from what is going on at the front door, what's going on in the parking lot. That has nothing to do with the lighting sensor. It's got everything to do with the door, the camera, audible decibel level, gunshot. So we have to think in such a broad way to capitalize on the opportunity of IoT. And that's exactly what Cognito Networks has done, and I'll share that with you. And therefore, multi-vendor IoT network interoperability as a foundation is extremely critical. And this is where the new companies will survive, because the older ones have revenue stream from proprietary networks they are trying to protect. And the third problem was, when you have, just to illustrate the multi-vendor notion, Cisco, which is where I worked, has badge management from Pelco, camera management from Linnell, building management from Johnson Controls, Schneider, Honeywell, GE, supply chain with Oracle database, Salesforce.com with SFDC for Salesforce management. All these are silos and they don't work. So it's a fundamental problem to solve. If you want to build intelligent policy and workflow automation, which leads to the cognitive computing and the cognitive intersection with IoT, you need a policy and workflow automation that is exceedingly adaptive. It has machine learning, and it's tailored to your business. So when I visited about 50 enterprises in my Cisco days and Juniper days, I saw these problems again and again, and we decided to focus on the enterprise rather than the consumer. There will be 40 billion opportunity in revenue opportunity in the consumer space for IoT, but let me tell you, most of them buy hardware. They get a point application on their smartphone. I have like 6 or 7 on my smartphone, one for the garage door, one for sprinkler, one for the camera, one for the other appliance. So you don't need a rich policy across these, correct? Nest is still struggling with it. Whereas in the enterprise, the policy is rich when these silos work together because it's one enterprise. So that's really how this company got founded. I heard these phrases repeatedly. validated it. In fact, I used Raj's class to build the business canvas, identify the key problems, interviewed people, narrowed it down to what we need to do. Okay? Where are we in terms of the company? The solution is ready for deployment. It's already being deployed. We closed 2 deals with Entity Innovation Institute. Some of you might have seen the press release that went out last week. And that is a marquee account which is now open doors. Other people are talking to us since the press release went out. And we have a few more deals lined up with enterprises, sensor vendors, camera vendors, etc. IoT is a very, very fragmented space. Even though we have the makings of a platform in a solution, the optics will be diluted if you go and say, I will do anything. And therefore, we have focused on 3 use cases based on the customer engagements. Later on, we'll go into other use cases. They have all been around energy management, climate control, and process workflow automation. Energy management, it's very easy to show before and after. You are spending $1 million a year on PG&E for electricity and gas. Now you are spending $700,000 because you are intelligently controlling the vents that are open and closed, the fan speed, where people are. Based on that, you decide where the energy is, where the air is flowing, as an example. So the ROI is very quantifiable. Similarly, in climate control, whether it's a mine, a grocery store, it's all measurable. And the reason I mention this is when you look at business model, look for business models where it is so compelling that they're ready to split the profit with you. It's easy for them, correct? I'm now striking a deal where we're saying, hey, we believe in saving energy for you. First year, 50% of the profit comes to us. Second year, 30%. Third year, 20%. Guess what? You save them $1 million over 3 years, then you make money. If you're not saving money or making money for them, then you have no business getting the account, correct? So that type of business model, you got to think to decrease the barrier to sales and increase the comfort level, because they would rather go with IBM, HP than your startup or my startup. What is the incentive? Apply for awards. We applied for a couple of them, and we got free publicity, and it'll have ripple effect in terms of contacts with partners and customers. We built some technology partnerships. Above all, in this new world, you need expertise around cloud, mobility, security, networking, etc. if you want to create enterprise class applications, correct? Everything that Raj showed in terms of intersecting the 5 disciplines, networking is all over it, right? Security is all over it. Blockchain, the foundation of blockchain is security. Correct? How do you create a security that no one understands, but together it works, correct? Those types of things are very important. This slide shows some quotations from our customers and partners. I'm just showing this to say that when you engage with customers, early when you sense that they're liking it, line them up for giving a testimonial or reference. That goes a long way. That is far more important than optimizing your revenue. You can see this on the website cognitonetworks.com, so I won't spend time on it. Our journey, it started in September 2014. We had a small team, myself and my chief architect, and we went to Bangalore and built a small team there. We have 2 full-time contractors, 2 part-time engineers, and that's all it took to build the prototype, believe it or not. I had written the requirements, I had written the use cases. In fact, when I was attending Raj's class, by the way, even though I'm seasoned, I always found I could learn something in every class. So I attended all his classes, did all the homework, believe me. In fact, he gave me an award for that.
Absolutely.
And we applied for the TIE Launchpad. We got selected. So you got to believe in what you're doing, be diligent, and good things will come. After that, we built a prototype in about 6 months. And then I'll tell you how we got the deals. By November of 2015, which was around 1 year, we closed the first deal. They liked it so much. In January 2016, they gave us a second deal. Now we have 4 or 5 in the pipeline. I'm optimistic we'll continue to win deals. And I did not raise money. I funded it myself up to now because I felt the leverage would be better, especially in IoT, if you have references. Because it's such a vast field, it's highly fragmented and confusing. If I say $4.5 trillion, I'll be laughed out of the VC meeting, correct? Because nobody cares. Whereas if I say it is $2 billion for mine ventilation systems and climate control, my credibility goes way up. So in fact, I'll show you some lessons learned. That is one of them. So these days, I don't even show a slide on the market opportunity for IoT because everybody knows. And everybody also knows that it doesn't mean a damn. So what use cases you go after, what market size it will create for you, and more important is what is your customer list for the use cases you're pursuing. This is the journey. And Raj, what I'll do is, before I get into any technical questions that they may have,
Okay.
I can get into technology depths as much as you want. I'm still an engineer. I want to share some lessons because one of the things I valued most from Roger's class was he brought people like me and successful people from his rich set of connections. We learned real lessons. It was not a theoretical. I've done MBA, I've done my master's, correct? Theory is different from practice. Here, the real people come and talk to you. You learn real lessons, real decisions, real challenges, real hot seat decisions, correct? And I want to give you some advice. Even though the company is not yet to be profoundly successful, emotionally we feel we are on the right trajectory. Bad decisions make great stories. So don't ignore them, right? Bad decisions will make great stories. When you're having coffee with someone, you will actually find out why you made the bad decision and correct it the next time around. But there are a lot of other things that you can learn as a startup. You have to bifurcate your mindset into 3 domains. One is the past, one is the future, and one is the current, right? And the lessons you learn from the past, you apply for the future. But the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you need to have irrational exuberance and optimism to not give up in the middle, which is now, right? I think like in the early discussion, Raj was saying, 9 people may say no to you. Well, what matters is the use case for the 10% or 20%. That will help you build the company. If it's consumer space in India, there are 1.2 billion people, right? You can build a successful business if you get anywhere from 5 million to 20 million consumers for your app, right? Even at $1 a month. So 9 people may say, oh, it's something like this, something like that, but you can't give up if you feel a segment is there for whom you're totally delighting the customer. Main message here is the middle is where the entrepreneur lives, but don't forget the past and apply it to the future. Okay. I'll share a few lessons from my own humble beginnings. I've started business units at Cisco, Juniper, and other companies, but that's a different game. This is the first time where I've put my opportunity cost of several $100,000 at risk, which is what I was earning, to start this company. And these are all straight from the heart, and I have examples for every one of them. Startup is not about technological brilliance or elegance of solution, correct? Every time you say yours is the best, there'll be somebody that will come with disrupt. The business model could disrupt it. The technology may be smarter, faster, cheaper, smaller. So you can't hang your hat on that. The reason I'm saying this is by the time you build your MVP, there could be a technology disruption and what you started might already be obsolete. But there may be other differentiators you might have built. Need some luck. There's all the way from hiring the right people, hiring the advisors, etc. And I have many stories on that. How I got to hire the 2 people in Bangalore just 2 days before I was supposed to leave. I ended up calling from Naukri.com, and lo and behold, the person I called was right across my father-in-law's apartment where I was calling from. It was really funny. And that's really how I got my first hire. And I was damn lucky, right? Because I was ready to go back to the US. And I didn't even know this guy lived there because I didn't know the address that well. And I called my father-in-law's phone number, and that guy said, "Hi, uncle." And I introduced myself, and his name is Santosh, and he actually was my first intro. Then he gave me other intros. That's really how the team got. So you need a little bit of luck as a startup. Ego. We all have intellectual egos. You got to set it aside. I get humbled every day, and it hurts because the relationship is asymmetrical. If I am asking for money, it doesn't matter how smart I am. The other person is the one giving money. So you got to suck up your ego, be humble, focus on the company and not yourself. Make mistakes, apologize immediately, move forward. Today I was debugging a database problem with the India team. I was looking at their screen. This is a true story. This happened this morning. And I was so engrossed, I completely missed my appointment at 10 o'clock. And after the meeting got over, I saw I was late by 15 minutes. I apologized and moved forward. Don't harp on it. Negotiate everywhere. It doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. Startup means you manage everything. Trade shows, ask for a discount. Business cards, ask for a discount. Lawyer support, get deferred payment. Patent filing, get deferred payment. Banners, equity, referral fee. Everything you need to negotiate. In fact, Raj has an assignment where he asks you to negotiate something and report to you. That was a fun exercise, correct? You got to negotiate. Worst case, they will say no. Don't forget that. Some of these may look like cliches, but they are important. And that's why I'm sharing this and giving examples. Then those are some general comments. The team, everybody says team is important. And they are right. Because as a startup, you will pivot. And if your team is solid, the team will be flexible enough to adjust to the pivot and retain the startup journey with you. So you need to hire the right people and be fair. And I'll give you an example of how I did. Like, a lot of engineers don't know about equity allocation, how much should a co-founder get, how much should someone joining later get, all these things. The way I do it is I actually give them 2-3 links. I have a session with them on how to divvy up equity. And then I'll tell them, come fully prepared for the negotiation. I arm them with the knowledge. I don't exploit their lack of ignorance. Guess what? It will be fair. And they understand everything from the norms in Silicon Valley. Negotiation goes better, and they feel thankful that I educated them. They know how to create equity pool. They know what dilution is. They know what a co-founder gets, what the first employee gets, what the 20th employee gets. Right? I'll ask them to look at angel list. I'll ask them to look at 500 startups, things like that. So be fair. You will earn tremendous goodwill. Cash. You always struggle. How do you balance cash and equity? As a rule of thumb, equity... Cash is twice as valuable, at least, as equity. So if you give me $100 of cash today, then you have to give me $200 worth of equity today to be even, right? Keep that in mind. And the next one is true. It has happened to me many times. You will go through your ups and downs and trials and tribulations. But believe me, if you have done the due diligence of the market sizing, the problem solving, and segmentation and what problem you're solving for that segment, just when everything looks down, something good will happen. But the challenge is, are you ready to capitalize on it? And I'll give you one example. I got my first deal because I gave a demo to a friend of mine whose name is Ravi. He was supposed to go to India the next day. And I told him, Ravi, give me 10 minutes, I'll give you a demo, correct? I give demos to everybody that wants to see the product. And I picked a Starbucks, which was 5 minutes from his house. He was getting ready to leave for India. Believe me, I gave a demo. 10 minutes became 1 hour because he liked the product so much. He was the one who gave me the first referral. So if I had taken the attitude, oh, he's going to India, let him come back and sync up with him later on, who knows what would have happened. So jump on the opportunity, seize the day. Just when you think everything is going bad, good things will happen. The other one, I'm still struggling, Raj. This is a tough one. I have advisors who are seasoned executives.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are supposed to do things and they don't. How do you hold them accountable? And it's an art. You will keep learning and getting better. First, you have to be accountable to yourself. When you say something, do it. If you can't do it, tell them why and tell them early. And this is where the friendship and accountability balancing is a tough act. But you got to become strong. You have to give feedback. And you got to call on them that they didn't do certain things. For example, one of my friends who joined me, he probably got 50% less equity because the first meeting I told him, every month late you join, this is how it tapers off. It made the conversation easy, but he also knows why it is low now. But that was done in a nice, balanced way. This slide is on business lessons. Right? You will be talking to VCs, angels, investors, and maybe hiring itself. People want to know how good your business is. There is this TAM. Frankly, TAM doesn't mean much. Your addressable market is a little better. IoT TAM is 4.5 trillion or 10 trillion if you listen to Cisco, but nobody understands that, right? I don't even show that slide. Then the next level is addressable market for your company. If you're looking at the robot for healthcare, the gentleman that mentioned, then do the addressable market for that, right? There are 50,000 hospitals and 20% of them may actually buy the robots and how they may buy only one robot per floor. How much is the addressable market? That is far more meaningful for you, right? Then instead of this billions of dollars, you will say, I have 50,000 robots as my opportunity, and then you put a better plan as an example. Even better is the list of customers. You can say Apollo Hospital in Bangalore, Apollo Hospital in Madras, things like that. Make a list and every day read through the list, and then use LinkedIn to find out who are there in those customers' accounts that they can introduce you, because you won't win enterprise deals if you don't have great introductions. Great introductions lead to great engagements. Cold calling is a long process. Pivot. Don't be afraid. I initially was looking at smart ag and smart vineyards because I had a great opportunity coming my way, right? But that didn't close, and my bowling alley actually said smart vineyards once. Now I am saying smart energy, but I'm now able to back it up with 2 deals that I closed. Right? Suddenly, smart energy, climate control, they're all looking in a related manner. So don't be afraid to pivot, because frankly, no, all the VCs that I talked to, they don't even remember that I had put that slide which said smart ag. They are so happy that I got now 2 deals in smart energy, right? Enterprise sales, 4 to 9 months. You need patience. I think the references, I always talked about it. Attend meetups. This one is a great venue for recruitment, but I started using it for different reasons. They periodically have startup pitch festivals. I just go and pitch there just to see what happens. I practice my spiel, because every time you nail down the presentation. Like last time I got selected to be a finalist, and it was really a pitch fest. I didn't even know that they had some executive summary they wanted. They had all kinds of presentation formats. Somebody told me there's a pitch fest. I just went cold. Then I saw the first person pitch, and I thought I could do better. So I went up to the chairperson and said, I have a great presentation. I would like to pitch. Then he said, do you have your exec summary? I said, no, but if you really want it, I'll build it for you in less than an hour or 2. I pitched. He really liked it. He gave me 2 hours. I gave him the documents. I was one of the finalists. I got to pitch in front of 200 people the next day. So make use of it as practice sessions. You'll fine tune your message. I had to give a 2-minute spiel, right? And I nailed it in 2 minutes. And the next day it was 10 minutes, 8 minutes. I nailed it in 8 minutes. So it was a great practice. And then guess what? So many people who applauded came and talked to me, recruitment, partnership contacts. I have contacts from Siemens and other companies. Make use of it. And always be selling. It should be obsessive. In fact, my family sometimes laughs because where I go, I'm pitching the company. Of course, I don't share intellectual property type information immediately, but coffee shops, elevators, trade shows, meetups, you talk to them, use humor, you never know what will happen. Above all, it will make you feel good because you will actually pitch your company story in less than a minute, less than 2 minutes, because that's all you have here. Those are my lessons in the technology, business, and general area. I have slides on solution, team, etc. I can share some of these with you, but I'll just spend one or two slides on technology. Raj, do I have time for that?
Yeah, go ahead. But you asked a question about, how to make advisors and kind of senior mentors and so on accountable, right?
Good. Let's say I make Raj an advisor and Raj doesn't do certain things.
So
how will I ask him?
Let me give you the perspective from the advisor or mentor side. And that'll make you more effective in the way you kind of, leverage them. So basically, for most senior advisors and mentors, they get a lot of, requests, okay, in general. They get a lot of requests, and 80 to 90% of these requests are from people that are not totally prepared with their request. So the quality of the request coming in is not very well prepared, right? There's not enough work put into, the question that's going to be asked or the thing that needs to be done, etc. So most of the requests coming in, they're not prepared. They don't know how important it is for the person making the request. So they don't know how much persistence that particular entrepreneur is going to have who's asking the question or asking for something to be done, like an intro to somebody or something like that, right? So basically what ends up happening is that most of these senior people essentially will, number one, they will test you for your ability to persist, which means that, they will wait to see. The first time you ask them the question, they're not going to respond. And, they will wait to see if you follow up with the second request, and sometimes very often even a third time. And they will look at the tone in which you're going to make the second request and the third request, right? So if you show signs of frustration or whatever, then, they're going to not respond, or it's going to backfire on you. So you have to, continue to go ahead and communicate your request in appropriate fashion. And you need to go ahead and put all the information together so that the senior advisor or mentor doesn't have to go searching for previous emails and so on. So, your telephone number, your email address, or the time that you want to meet, you should give 2 or 3 options. You should basically, prepare the background information that is needed for them to go ahead and give you the advice that you're looking for on a particular issue. So what I'm saying is that the more an advisor or mentor is going to see that you are putting in the effort to package all the things that you think that advisor needs in order to give you the appropriate response is well done. And then you also go ahead and follow up twice, at least 2 more times. And you should also obviously follow up not just with email but also with some phone calls. So my feeling is that between messaging, a phone call, first probably I would do an email where you put everything together. Second, you do a reminder, and then even in that reminder you put all the information. Don't say that the email that I sent 3 days back or whatever, because it's too much garbage these days. And then you do a third reminder, obviously, but everywhere make it easy for them to connect with you very, very easily. You should be accessible even if they wake up at 11 o'clock in the night and they've got 5 minutes, they want to just connect with you, right? So you have to be ready all the time, and you make it easy, but you do show persistence.
Yeah.
So anyway, some feedback.
That's definitely valid points. Hopefully,
because there is no irritation or ego involved when senior people give advice to the mentees. Okay, so there is no ego involved.
As your student,
it's just
followed
circumstances. Yeah.
But I want to tell you something to the other people in the class. You have to be consistent. There was a time when my request was repeatedly the same. I never changed it because I knew that was the most important thing for my company. Right? Mm-hmm. Right now, the most important thing for Cognito is enterprise introductions, and I have a list of enterprises.
Yeah.
So this was for Pradeep, correct? Pradeep. And I said, Pradeep, I need meetings with IoT contacts at Honeywell, GE, Echelon, these type of companies. And then a few days later, I sent the same thing. I never changed my request. And then I sent an email saying, this is the most important thing for the company. Please help. I've requested this repeatedly. You guys have great contacts. And then what happened was, suddenly things started happening. And this is another lesson I learned. We got the award. So I started creating a well-wishers list. Raj is one of my well-wishers. Hopefully I'm not bombarding you. I'm only sending good things. So I started sending blind copy to all the well-wishers with all these accomplishments. Suddenly they started become more comfortable. This company has legs. I won't lose my face by introducing. And then we had a meeting.
Very good point. Very good point.
And then the meeting went very well. Now they are saying, okay, this solution looks really good. And now they are actually trying to help us out through partnership. So create a well-wishers list and use a blind copy. That way, if some mistake occurs, it's only impacting one person.
Yeah.
And you're not spamming. And then share all the glorious things, correct? Like, hey, great release. Check out the new website. Sign up for a free trial. Selected for TIE finalist. Then selected as a TIE winner. Then NTT press release. Then we had 5 IoT startups to watch for. So I had sent 9 or 10 well-wishers email in the last 2 months, which actually increase the confidence for the advisors. So do things to make your advisors feel this is a great company, great team, great CEO. I need to coach him or her. I need to introduce the companies. Then good things will happen. I think I'm on that inflection right now.
No, Kittur, I've been a receiver of all your, well-wisher emails, and I can tell you that, I scan them, and it leaves me with a good taste in the mouth. And what ends up happening is that it does make me more receptive to putting a helping hand out, right?
Thank you.
So I think what you are trying to achieve, you're absolutely achieving, And that's a very important lesson for all these aspiring entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll take just a few minutes. I
Yeah,
know
just take a
you
few
have
minutes to
lot of
explain what you've done. Yeah.
use cases. This is a high-level architecture. I'm assuming most of you are technologists, but I won't go too deep. If you want me to go deep, sign up. It's on LinkedIn and chat with me or send me an email. I'll be more than glad. I enjoy mentoring as much as Raj does. Right? Mentoring is our way of learning to communicate in simple terms, but also benefiting from your feedback. We are not building sensors and things. And I told you there'll be billions and trillions of those. The semantics of sensors and things is unclear at best. For me, sensor means something you can touch and feel, a temperature sensor, humidity sensor, an MRI machine, etc. Thing is a software construct, a PO from salesforce.com, number of virtual machines, performance metric of a server. Those are all, in some sense, HTTP requests or database requests. Those to me are things. You put them together, that's how you get Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, etc. This is an important layer, but I want to tell you this is getting commoditized very rapidly. So unless you're really, really a hardware person who enjoys creating these, and I have designed hardware, there's some interesting ideas there. I decided not to pursue that because it will get commoditized. You will have sensors and things being very cheap. But you need to decouple the sensors and things through a layer called the gateway. This is a logical construct or can have a physical manifestation. We are building this gateway as a software only because some protocols that the customers want may not be supported by third-party gateways. Otherwise, our preference is to use third-party gateways and then have an API level integration into our cloud service. So that's the three layers. So you'll have millions at the bottom, thousands at the middle layer, and a distributed architecture at the top layer, which is a cloud service. And I want to emphasize, if you're thinking Internet of Things, you got to think distributed. You cannot afford the latency of going to the cloud all the time. If your patient monitoring in your robot example has to make decision, it has to make local decision. So you need to have centralized policy, but edge enforcement. The policy and workflow is where we shine. We have gotten a lot of kudos. The mobile application is mostly for notification, monitoring, alerts, etc. Some partners. If I blow up the architecture, this is how it looks. The bottom layer is messy. You have BACnet, Modbus, RS-232, 422, 485, SNMP, blah, 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 150 protocols. Those are all traditional protocols. The new ones are Wi-Fi, Zigbee. There's a new one called LoRa, which is the long-range, low-power, wide-area wireless network. If you're looking at sensors, you got to look at LoRa, especially in a country like India. It'll soon come. But use Wi-Fi and Zigbee for wireless. That's the bottom layer. At the top layer, we built a lot of differentiators. One, we started federating the services. Two, we created a phenomenal abstraction where I won't go into the details. We are not letting you manage individual sensors and things because it's too cumbersome. You have a business type abstraction. For example, I could manage my house as an entity rather than the 50 sensors it has. It may be a business building which may have 1,000 sensors, but you manage the building, so on and so forth. And then the device independent layer is established. That's how we built the partnership. These are some of our differentiators. My main message to you all is when you look at the differentiators, apply for provisional patents. Even if you don't have money, provisional patents are cheap. You just apply, spend some time, do it early. That way you can say, I've applied for these type of patents. And it'll also give you your own clarity for your own thinking in terms of differentiators. And when the VCs and angels ask for what your differentiators are, you have your answers. For us, the abstraction, creating closed loop control, and then integrated security and modeling are our key differentiators. We feel that in the future, IoT will become bidirectional. which means there will be autonomous systems of sensors and things, and you need to manage those autonomous systems. You can't expect all the sensors to come to the cloud. And those areas we are filing for provisional patents. And this is where what Raj said fits in, correct? The sensors help you with the understanding. Then you build your abstraction and build reason into your decision making through adaptive learning and machine learning. And then you unleash the potential by taking the use cases and creating closed loop control systems. I'll give you one simple example. I'll actually switch to that slide just to show how we created the closed loop system. This looks a little dim. This is actually a deployment of a solution in a mine in Colorado. This is a real deployment. The problem there was, this is true, Raj, there are so many mines worldwide. Not only 12,000 people lose their lives every year in mining accidents, but the energy consumption is phenomenal because there is no method to how the energy is spent for blowing ventilation systems. What happens is they have all these ducts, they blow air from the outside into the mine at a constant rate, like 25,000 cubic feet per hour. Whether people are there or not, whether machines are on or not, they're not making any decision. You need oxygen for what? Human beings and diesel engines and machines, correct? If all your machines are on the left side in this diagram, why blow onto the right side? So the blue ones here are all doors. Okay, this is a real mine. This is a door. You can notice that there are doors they have built for all these vents. And what you can see that we modeled a miner, you can see the various readings, CO levels, blah, blah, blah. And we are also measuring the airflow, air density, humidity, temperature. And what they are doing with our solution is, and I'm showing you that John Doe is at 2400 and 6100. So they know the real-time location of these assets. Your machine, drilling machine, you know the physical location of the various doors and vents. And what they're doing as we speak is they are now making intelligent decisions. If everybody is here, they're closing off this vent, this vent, this vent, this vent. So all the air goes there. Instead of blowing at 25,000, they're now blowing at 15,000 cubic feet per hour, right? Saving about 25-30% of the energy. And now we have a chance to automate that because we know the protocol of the pump and the air blower. We could now directly tell it, slow down, speed up, correct, reverse. So they are building all those things to create a closed loop system. And after this, we will actually do a before after and hopefully write a case study of how this simple concept actually is saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And every mine wastes power.
Amazing.
And then what happened? We got this as the first deal, but I positioned it as energy management. And then I took it to a supermarket. Guess what? Same story. We are working with a supermarket in Berkeley. They have a walk-in freezer which is as big as my house. And regardless of how much food is there, they are blowing at the same rate. If the door is open, they don't know. So all the air, cold air escapes. So their energy costs are high. And then when PG&E has a demand surge because of funny weather and heat, they don't have the smarts to say, I'll just increase the temperature by 1 degree or 2 degrees and save a lot of money. It's the same thing, slightly different use case, but same rubric of energy management. And we are very close to closing a deal there. And it was leveraged from this deployment. So this is an example of a closed loop system, which is one of our differentiators. Now they're automating all of that. And if the door is open, it sends an alert. And if the amount of food either measured through weight or video analytics, it'll adjust how much blow it should blow.
Amazing.
And I'm looking forward to it. And this supermarkets spends, believe it or not, $1.5 million PG&E for their 2 stores.
Wow.
We feel we can save them $300,000 to $400,000 just by managing peak demand and then intelligently deciding what the temperature should be and the humidity should be. Okay, so closed loop control system is extremely critical. Any of you thinking of IoT, you got to think closed loop control system. In the robot case, it should be closed loop. Patient vitals, calling the triage nurse, calling the doctor, closing the loop with the medication being taken, understanding drug interaction. You close the loop, right? You cannot just send the data because that is not useful. Knowledge is the useful thing. Knowledge comes from synthesis of data. And that is where the closed loop control system concept is very, very handy. And that's one of our differentiators. And then I'll just show one other slide and stop. Think about your business model, how to price it, but be very open and flexible. This is an important slide. When you create your go-to-market, if it is enterprise, first 15 engagements, you will have to carry the load. And Raj did this with Selectica, he knows it. You have to put all hands on deck. First 15 you control, then you have partners and all. So you won't make money very fast because it won't scale in the early stage. Your entire team will be involved. So regardless of your use case and segment, think of the go-to-market along with your business canvas so that you understand what your levers are and what your challenges will be. And last but not the least, I'll close with how these things fit together. So this is the hierarchy of how I'm thinking, right? And that's why we built the multi-vendor integration and interoperability as the foundation. We are one of the very few companies that can actually combine sensors and machine-to-machine communication from different vendors fairly seamlessly. To us, that was the foundation. That is just getting data. But what it does is it protects the investment and gives the enterprises a chance to work with startups rather than the traditional SCADA system providers like Honeywell, GE, Johnson Controls, etc. Then we virtualized a whole bunch of things. And I really believe that sensor networks will have a software-defined sensor network angle to it. And I'm actually sharing some confidential information here just to stimulate your ideas. Not too many are thinking like that. They have SDN for routing and switching, but they should look at software-defined sensor networking. And we actually are one of the few looking at it. And don't be afraid of API communication with third parties, including your competitors. That's the way to architect it. And you can control who you give it to, but you have to take the high road and be very, very open. And protecting your company by being proprietary is short-lived. You will fail. And analytics, we have it on a roadmap. We have not built it. We are thinking of partnering. And there are many companies that do analytics. So we will do the API integration with them and put them all together. This is the full solution. In the deals we have closed so far, we have to handhold them a little bit. But I'm happy to tell you that the solution already has yielded results. In the mine, they detected one instance of high carbon monoxide using a solution. And guess what? It happened because one machine was on and the person left the mine half an hour before and closed the door. So they detected this process anomaly, and now they have put a process in place that nobody will close the door in the mine till everybody has, all the machines are off and people are left.
Wow.
Simple. To me, it was a simple use case, but the value was profound.
Of course.
It just showed a spike, and we had a policy saying if carbon monoxide is greater than 5, then send a notification. They got a notification. And as a closed loop system, I am also controlling my own backyard sprinkler using real soil moisture and and temperature. My sprinkler is not on a timer. It's a simple closed loop, right?
Okay.
Water just enough to have the percentage of moisture you want at different parts of your lawn. And I did this just for kicks, not selling it. But some people actually liked it. I actually give it as a demo. In fact, I can show it if you want, where the camera turns on, the sprinkler turns on because the policy kicks in. So I'll pause there and I'll entertain any questions you may have. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur. There'll be ups and downs. Be optimistic. Build great friendships. Have humility, but don't compromise your intellectual integrity, because we all need something to cling on to show that we have done our analysis. But when you're on the receiving side, humility should override. That would be my advice. Learn to be firm when you need to be firm, but firmness doesn't mean you need to be obnoxious. You can be firm and polite. And that is the leadership style, at least I have. And that's the type of culture we are building for the company. And I think we are at the cusp of something bigger. And we feel that working together with other people, we can make great things happen.
Well, I can tell you, Ketur, you've gone. I'm blown away by the sophistication of what you achieved in 18 months. It's remarkable with a team of probably about 10 people.
6, right? 2 plus 3. 3 half-time, 3 part-time, and 2 full-time here, and 2 contractors full-time. 7 people.
7 people. 7 people, 18 months, and you're building kind of an enterprise class app with a lot of, a lot of relevance and application to, vertical markets. Like you found your a good vertical to go after. You've got customers lining up. You're going to the right events. So it looks pretty fantastic. So one quick question is, how much of the software and application that you've done, just give me a percentage, was open source versus code that you guys wrote?
Good question. And in business parlance, for the folks on the call, you always have to think about what is core to your business and what is context. Core to Cognito Networks was the policy creation, workflow automation, multi-vendor interoperability. We kept it. The code was not open source for that. But context such as supporting different protocols, we used open source. Then supporting graphs and charts, we use plugins. Maps, we use Google Maps. So wherever it was not the key differentiator, we leverage open source. Wherever we thought it was too core to be giving away to somebody else, because open source, when you modify, you have to give it back to the open source community. So we retained those. Policy automation, the APIs, then the GUI for creating the policies, the dashboard, those are all what we created. And the abstraction, I've filed for some patents there. Next time we meet, we can talk about it. I feel we have built wonderful abstraction. I can go all the way from a sensor to the full enterprise if I want. And this is one clear differentiator we have, which we owned, and we built all of that. Hopefully this answered the question. I would say about 60-70% is ours, about 30-40% is open source and plugins.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, I think it's important to understand that, that rapid prototyping is extremely important, not only to get your initial customer interest and validation, but also when you go ahead and build pilots for customers, having the ability to rapidly go ahead and show prototypes that are applicable to their environment and pilots that are applicable to their environment is very key to kind of, getting customers to start working with you. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100% agreed. And I'm actually sharing the dashboard when you log in. This is what you see.
Mhm.
To answer your question, we have an ability to model. So any customer engagement, I actually go with these type of use cases for the very first meeting.
Right.
We just don't show any slides. So it's very, very important as a sales tool to have an ability to show the promise to the customer's context.
Exactly. That is the key.
And this is how we got the mining deal. The very first meeting, we went with these use cases. We showed them the various things they could see, the various readings from the climate control. We showed them how they could manage the miners.
Right.
And we showed them that they could integrate video. And all those things we showed in the very first meeting. And frankly, they felt, one, these people have come prepared. Two, they're telling a story that I can understand. It's not a generic enterprise wishy-washy thing.
Yeah.
And if you have an ability to do that for the entrepreneurs in the class, leverage it and create your library of stories using your own product.
Great. So can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I wanted to, once you stop sharing. So I wanted to kind of go back to the Sandy Carter pitch and the question I had for you was you've got definitely some elements of IoT. Of course, you got IoT and some elements of cognitive in your closed loop learning, etc., that you've got, and intelligence that you've got. Design thinking, how did you apply that?
The design thinking that this is a journey. Our next version will be even better. The design thinking initially was tied to expediting the MVP.
Okay.
And this is where we leveraged some templates, even though it wasn't the optimal thing, because we wanted to show it to the customers and get their feedback. And I drew the concept, and then the design engineer actually made modifications and actually came up with a better one. If you are looking at cloud type startups, have the one chief architect, one product and business type person, and one design person.
Yeah, so basically if I look at your app, I think I've seen your app a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, basically in design thinking, they talk about users first, then aesthetically pleasing, the way you choose your colors, your boxes, your flow, etc. Fun to use, so that it's very responsive and things like that. And then clarity, so that people don't have to read manuals to start using your dashboard and so on to get real value out of it, right?
Yeah.
So I think your first one looked pretty good, but I felt that definitely could benefit from more slickness.
Correct.
And I think to some extent, design thinking might help you in your
correct.
In because I think what I've noticed is that most of the big companies put a lot of effort into the UI and the flow and so on. So which is where entrepreneurs typically will be in a rush because they're doing it. The MVP becomes the customer pilot. So this is one area that it makes sense to start paying attention to.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
The only saving grace was the SCADA systems are all so siloed and they are so cumbersome. We got away a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll show you the concept for the next release, which will be better. But I fully agree.
Okay. And then gamification. I would think that even your app during the promotion demo stage or creating a learning app, not a learning app, basically a training app, so that people can start using it. I think gamification concepts might be relevant there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you try to create a training app or something like that, things like gamification might be helpful. So, okay, I think thank you very much, Kitur.
Thank you
for I think this marvelous progress that you made from where you were 18 months back when you started the company. It was I remember maybe at some point I should share your winning presentation because they will see quite a difference between where you were versus where you've gotten to in less than 18 months. And that's what an entrepreneur successfully does, right? I mean, he moves so fast relative to the real world that within a year, people can't even recognize, how successful and how much progress has been made by the entrepreneur, just because of the focus and, the kind of passion with which, the projects are driven.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good. So,
could I ask one question, Kitur?
Sure.
One question. Yeah, Kitur, I think I must say it was a great, impressive presentation. And in one go, we got to see both Kitur as well as his mentor talking to each other, and it was a very, very lively and impressive conversation. And we learned a lot from the conversation itself about how mentoring happens actually. So thank you both for giving an insight in that. The specific question I had in mind was whether the target audience for your product is directly the enterprises or some kind of system integrator in between who takes your platform and then builds a solution for them.
Good question.
That's a good question. The short answer is, I think in the go-to-market slide I showed you, I think you may have to mute. The go-to-market slide I showed you that the first 15 engagements we will lead. And then we will use the system integrators to take us to the other opportunities. We have had a lot of requests from India because there was the Habitat, the show in Gandhinagar, I think, just a few months ago. Bangalore, we have had requests. We have had some gateway providers and sensor providers saying we want to use their application. Here's what I'm doing. This is another philosophy. 1 minute.
Connection is the problem. We can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
Raj, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now we can.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's a good question. In the short run, we are taking the lead. The go-to-market is entirely through Cognito. And what I'm doing is for US, I'm keeping full ownership. For other places, in fact, we have teamed up with some potential integrators, especially India. And here I want to make one more suggestion for startups. I forgot to mention this. It's very important. You got to give money to make money. That's the Silicon Valley motto, right? You cannot hold equity money and say, I'll create a successful startup, correct? So for example, for partners in India, if some of you are really interested in this, I would love to talk to you. For referral, I'm actually giving 5% of the net profits. That's for referring. And if you do mini business development, 10% to 20%. If you do full business development, I'm actually giving 50% of the net profits to the partner, with a floor for the second year, because sometimes the deal takes longer, correct? And a floor for the third year. These are all things I learned during the negotiation. And I'm happy to tell you that that's my outlook. You have to give money to make money. You can't keep it all for yourself. 100% of zero is useless. Did that answer your question? There are integrators in Bangalore, Gandhinagar that are talking to us.
Okay. Yeah, good question. Yeah, go ahead.
You spoke about raising funds, and since you spoke about the referral fee that you spoke about, when you actually raised in Q3 2016, did you actually offer it to investors only in the company in the US or in India?
Raj, I couldn't hear it properly.
Can you come closer to the mic and speak, please?
Walk up to the camera.
Yeah, and stay within the camera. Stay within the camera. Yeah.
Since you were fairly open in terms of discussing, that you how you let out the referral model, just a logical extension. The slide showed you go to fundraise in 2016 Q3. So will that be offered to investors in India, or into probably on Holdco or your company in the US? If you could just share that.
We feel that at a minimum this is a cross-corridor company, because we do have a team in Bangalore, and we have in fact I have Nikhil Shah, my Juniper colleague, who is in Gandhinagar, who is actually doing some great work in India for us. We are open to that. In fact, I also encourage others to think of it, both Silicon Valley and Bangalore or India someplace. And there is an active VC community in India. I am paying by dollars right now. There's no reason. If we get some investment in India, we can actually increase the engineering capacity in India, testing, validation, and go to market in India, because there are a lot of opportunities we are getting in India. So I'm open to it. I think it's a global VC world, correct? And we're not hung up on US alone. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
If you have VC contacts, I would love to talk to you.
Any questions from Nagpur? Can you share some of those batata vadas?
Amazing, Nagesh. I think your product is needed by every human being, and it's just amazing.
Thank you. Hopefully I was articulate enough to communicate what it does. And feel free to sign up for a free trial. Log on to cognitonetworks.com. There is a free trial button on the top right. And sign up. In general, I prefer company email addresses, because if it's Gmail or Yahoo, you never know whether it's a consumer or non-enterprise. Some competitors have done that, signing up through their own personal addresses, preferably an enterprise address, but feel free to sign up. I'm generally very transparent, because I believe if the differentiators are on shaky ground, I will know early by being transparent.
Great. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and happy entrepreneurship to all of you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Bye.
Okay. So let's take a look at the rest of the course that we want to cover. Okay, so basically, Wrong course. Okay, so we've got another 45 minutes, and now you should have some idea about how to take your ideas and use some of the latest technologies and building blocks, etc., that are available in order to kind of create a world-class product, right? So why don't we have other teams go ahead and talk about their ideas, okay? So and then what we'll do is during this next 6-7 days, if you all can basically start working as a team, and then we will do all the assignments, etc., kind of on a team basis, right? So for whatever idea that you want to take forward. Okay, so let's just have each of the teams, and I hope we can get everybody involved in some team or the other, and have each team kind of present their idea. Obviously, I expect the ideas to be raw because you guys have only got 10-15 minutes to think and talk about it. And but I would recommend that just put that idea up here. Let us brainstorm it as a group, and then in the next 6 days till the next class, each of you kind of work to get in your respective teams, and I'll give you some assignment to do where you kind of define the objectives of your company, your mission of your company, and then you go ahead and kind of describe how your company is going to work. And what I will do is, to make it easy, I will kind of show you how to describe your company, okay? So let me kind of explain that. So if you look at this, it's called the business plan narrative.
Raj, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If we have many ideas, how do we decide which one to follow? That's the first question. And second is, how do you decide what is your passion? What should you follow and make as your main idea?
Okay, so, since this is kind of the introductory class and to entrepreneurship, I want, don't make the assumption that, this company will end up becoming the project for your team, and you're going to build a whole real company on it. Now, Kittur Nagesh actually did end up, developing his idea and then getting funded, and then, quitting his job and, building it for the last 18 months. And I think he's going to be successful. I can see that from, what he's communicated. But I would say that in for this particular class, go ahead and choose the idea in your team that you all feel is something that you can get your arms around, something that you can find some real customers to go ahead and talk about, discuss with. So some of the things that we are going to do with this idea, just so that you know which idea to select, is that it needs to be an idea that you can find some real customers in Nagpur or Mumbai itself, because you're going to have to talk to 10 customers, 10 real customers to get some real customer feedback and to validate your idea, etc. So, choose an idea, something that is validatable with real customers in Nagpur or Mumbai. So you should not have an idea which can only be validated in Silicon Valley, for example. So try to get an idea that, choose an idea in your team that, if it has got something to do with healthcare, hospital, you have the ability to go and talk to some hospital. You can talk to the hospital administrator, you can talk to some nurses, you can talk to some doctors, and so on, right? So find ideas that you can actually discuss with real people, real potential customers. So once you have your idea, basically the whole goal is to go ahead and do the following. Okay, let me see if I can download this. So this particular company or startup is called Orchard Supply, and the business opportunity that they came up with was to use computer vision technology to help farmers manage their crop yield and reduce cost for farmers, right? So basically, like, they're going to have a cart that periodically tours the orchard, takes images of leaves and trees, and based on computer vision technology can detect issues with health issues with the plants based on leaf coloration. And then they're going to help growers and pest control advisors about how to take preventive measures. So this is the business opportunity that they were chasing, that they came up with. And this was going to be, the target market, fruit and nut growers rather than people growing rice and corn. And they figured that out because of the market value and the geography and the growing season. And then they figured out, like, how big this market was, and, what kind of need there was for this kind of technology. And then, let's not worry too much about the bottom three items, which is how they differentiated, go to market. We'll do all of that in future. But my feeling is that for next week, for your group projects, whichever project you choose, you should be able to go ahead and at least explain what is the business opportunity for your company, who's the potential user of your product, what benefit they would get, what would be the target market, approximate. You may or may not want to do segmentation, and what is the real value of what you're doing. Okay, so use this as an example of how you would go ahead and choose your project and explain your project. And then, there's a little write-up about the business opportunity, target market, etc. So I've shared all of this in the on the EdCast portal, and it'll give you a good idea as to how to explain what you're going to be doing, right? And in particular, I also want you to explain how you will use either some of the ideas that you got from Kittu's presentation or from that IBM presentation about how to make whatever idea you come up with and the solution you come up with kind of have some very state-of-the-art capability in that product, right? In whatever solution you come up with. Okay, so with that, let's have yeah, go ahead.
Raj, actually, I wanted to know whether we can ask, we can pitch an idea which we were going to give it in a startup, but because we have developed a completely new product out of that, so can you pitch that idea also? It's a Digital India kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, any idea that you think there is a way by which customer discovery, customer validation can be done.
Yes, sir.
I want ideas that apply to your environment, okay? But then I want you to come up with solution for the problem that you're solving, which is state of the art.
Yes, sir.
I want you to think how to make things state of the art.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay, so we've got about 30 minutes, so let's quickly go through each of the teams. Okay, can you get the camera to face the right way? Yeah.
I'm Yashwant here. Can you see and hear me?
Sure. Yeah, yes, Yashwant.
Yeah, so we have a team of 5, and we reached a stage where each of us came up with their own idea.
Okay.
We haven't come down to shortlisting it yet, the best idea or what we want to pursue. For example, Nilesh felt that IoT's one external application for IoT would be in predictive kind of maintenance of machinery. There are lots of thousands of parts in complicated machines. It's very difficult to manually go and follow up and ensure that there are no maintenance issues. And he thinks that smart sensors with cognitive stuff thrown in would be a great solution for the future. And I like that personally too. Okay. Asha, on the other hand, felt that we could use gamification for some applications with children at home. I mean, some kind of, I won't call it behavior management, but kind of, teaching good practices and, do everything in the form of games, like saving of water, not letting water go waste. And I think that was an excellent idea too, a completely new, perspective on gamification for application to children. Mihir, he's a design expert from our team. And I was very glad that we have a design expert. And he explained to us the difference between design thinking and design. So design is something that emanates out of design thinking. Design thinking is not about user interface alone. It's about the whole way of thinking. And he gave some examples. And I'm glad that we have him. And he has a meta idea, if I may say so. He thinks that design thinking ought to be used on both personal productivity level of tools as well as in collaboration tools, because that is where the ease of use is a big issue today. Mm-hmm. And last, then Amir thought that speech to text is a nice example of cognitive analysis, data mining, artificial intelligence. And I do support him because I think in the Indian context with so many languages and so many states, not only speech to text, but also speech recognition and speech to text and translation. They are really big challenges which only Europe has, perhaps, not the US, not Japan, not Germany, and so on. So I think that was a good idea. And lastly, my idea is about using these concepts that you're asking us to apply to a situation in rural India where there are no doctors. There aren't trained doctors who can diagnose what is wrong with the patient. They can't diagnose whether it's serious enough. And the delay in treatment, in diagnosis itself leads to more deaths and more morbidity and so on. So I thought that kind of a remote diagnostics assistant using all these ideas, whether it's IoT for taking the temperature of the patient or the cognitive stuff which has an algorithm. So 5 different ideas from 5 different people, and we are fixed as to what to choose. Thank you.
Okay. So obviously you'll have to choose one of the ideas. You don't want to chase 5 ideas. So before you leave today from the class, you should zero in on one idea. And, I said that important things that we will that you'll be doing in this project is actually talking to real potential customers and getting their feedback, and then validating, the need, validating the solution concept that you come up with, and then also doing a MVP, or minimum viable product, whether it's a little app, or whether it's a little demo, or whether it's a PowerPoint presentation, but basically an MVP, which will help you communicate the value, right? Because after that, we are going to do all the other things necessary to write a business plan, which is the marketing strategy, sales strategy, product development strategy, financing strategy. All of this we will be putting together, right? So in this week, after this class until the next week, you have to zero in on the idea and talk to 10 potential customers. So before you leave the class today, your team needs to agree on one idea. If it needs, just keep discussing it till you all agree on one idea. Okay. Okay, next team. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, very clear.
So our idea is about improving employability for engineering graduates in India.
Okay.
So 80% of engineering graduates in India are said to be unemployable because they lack practical on-field skills. So we want to create an app which will train them in these practical aspects using gamification. And like real life case studies, simulations, and explaining all the concepts using audio-visual content, and like which is not boring and which is like more engaging than normal engineering textbooks. So our focus will be like people from the tier 3 colleges in India, because Nagpur itself has some 42 engineering colleges, and not all of the people get placed.
Very good point.
Yes. Ready?
There, he's ready.
Good morning, Raj. This is Kirtiraj Garud from TiE Nagpur.
Yeah, hi.
So in India, online presence has not bloomed much for when it comes to students and young professionals domain. There are Pani Puri walas who are online. There are Pani Puris online, but more than 90% Indian youth has not marked their own global presence. We find like fake Facebook profiles and fear authenticity. People from commerce or mechanical background have to depend on coders for their web presence. But for solving these problems, we have come up with a Facebook for websites kind of portal where you just have to feed the information and your website is dynamically made. So like we have made a dedicated dynamic control panel based portal at 50 to 70% less than market rate. There can be 15 Kirtiraj Garuds, but only one www.kirtirajgarud.com. And having info@kirtirajgarud.com is always better than funkyraj@gmail.com, because you are marking your own global presence and your brand value. After that, you can check integrity of any politician before voting him by checking on his own digital portal, as well as mark your business or like company online, thereby promoting Digital India and Make in India. And when we pitched this idea at National Institute of Technology, Raipur, they gave our product like official partnership kind of thing. And for this idea only, we have been selected for NEN, National Entrepreneurship Network Campus Company Award and IEEE Student Enterprise Award.
Wow. Okay, so so basically, like, looks like you already have a pretty good idea in mind, right? I mean, it seems to be pretty far along.
Yes.
So
I just want to integrate it with the tools and develop it.
Okay, so basically, like, you want to now actually build an MVP for it, or what do you want to do?
The prototype is already ready. Our product is ready. We want to create a business out of that, like from a product to a complete startup and then a company.
Okay. Okay, and but have you? will you be able to, I did not fully understand. Okay, so you saw what the Orchard Supply Company did, right?
Yes, sir.
So will you be able to write a business narrative explaining, who this product is for, what is the value to them, how much you think they'll pay for it, what will be your business model for it? Do you think you can do that much?
So for that only, I wanted to use the tools and like this a course platform so that I can learn all those kinds of things for this particular idea.
Okay. Okay. So sounds pretty good to me. So go ahead and I'll do the assignment that we'll give you
Yes.
For that particular idea. And how many people on your team?
So right now over here, like I just came late, so I couldn't form a team over here.
Does anybody else wants to join your team? Ask them.
Actually, yeah, gradually we'll take him in our team. But right now we have an idea which we want to discuss.
Okay.
So maybe we will like to club up with the education team.
Hi sir, I'm Pushkar Godbole from TiE Nagpur. I'm
Yes,
currently pursuing engineering, and actually my idea is that I want to create a professional services marketplace. Like Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeals are all product-based marketplaces. I want to create a marketplace which will be for professional services like photographers, accountants, interior designers, artists, etc. So what we can do is, like I can use the elements like cognitive thinking and design thinking, etc. so that users can fill up a form, and after analyzing that form, my platform can shortlist a list of candidates, like 10 to 15 candidates, which will be suitable for them, best suitable for them. That is my basic idea.
Okay. One of the things that you should check is this market already not filled by other people, right? So,
Yeah.
Because this is something that probably already exists, because people do interview for jobs and so on, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are already recruiting services and all kinds of stuff happening, right? So I'm not very clear whether how this whole thing will work. So you need to either develop the idea better and put some effort into thinking why something like this will make business sense. And next week we'll actually learn something called business model canvas, where you will get a chance to take your idea and then figure out whether the idea makes sense or not from a business standpoint. Because ultimately we want to build a company, right? We want to build a company around the idea. So the idea should be such that you can build a company on a profitable, scalable business basis, right? So that is my first instinct is that you guys you and your team need to think of some more ideas. Like you saw Yashwant, he had 5 ideas, right? So you and your team need to think of more ideas.
Raj, I just had Ankur from Nagpur.
Yeah. And then you can, between the 4 or 5 of you, you can discuss till you, feel, okay, this idea looks worth developing.
Raj, I think
have more ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, like how all of us out here just kind of gathered and formed a team is because my initial idea was, although on the white collar side of things, like when you're talking about accountants and you're talking about legal executives, there are sort of various platforms where you can sort of find people on an hourly or like on your go-to basis. Where I personally thought the opportunity was present was trying to regulate the unregulated, so more on the blue collar side of things, especially like in this part of the world, like in emerging markets. So like when you talk about like people who may come and wash your house or like clean your cars when you're on holidays, or like when you're even moving to new places. So like say for instance, I was in one location. When I come to another location, I may need someone who can come clean my house or do my dishes and other sort of stuffs. And when you don't have any sort of particular references, so like when you're new to a place, it's kind of hard to get your hands around like who's good and who's not. So word of mouth is something which prevails quite a bit. So what I, along with like if I can get people on board with me, was trying to figure out was how can we first of all regulate the blue collar sector over here, where we're talking about people in the BOP line in particular, and then try and connect them with people who are in the white collar sector and see if we can bridge the gap of communication between them and somehow try and get a business out of it.
Yeah. So, that is definitely, a need that always exists. And what you're going to have to figure out is at some point when you do the business model canvas is, what are going to be the challenges because of this matching and if there is money in it, right? So challenges, whether there's a way to kind of get people to use your app, blue collar people, kind of laborers, whether they can use your app, etc. So anyway, so just I think obviously I've not given you guys enough time to think of ideas, etc. So what I would recommend is that every team kind of exchange your telephone number, email addresses, or whatever. And these days, you can either meet in a conference room somewhere, or you can meet in a restaurant, or you can just meet on a virtual phone call, Skype call or something like that. And you can discuss after 24 hours, after 48 hours. But within 2 days, each team needs to zero in on one idea. Okay? Okay. The next team?
Yep. Hi Raj, my name is Yash.
Yes, Yash.
My idea was related to the travel and tourism industry. So I feel that there is a lack of an online platform where people can book their tickets, book hotels, and know how to travel places and find attractions on a unified platform. There are multiple platforms existing online like Make My Trip, GoIbibo, Oyo Rooms, multiple hotel booking platforms. But there isn't a unified platform which can do all the things and create a very good end user experience. So I want to use design thinking, Internet of Things, and cognitive tools to create such a platform which would enable people to plan their trips and tours and customize it, because I believe that this era is of customization and people want things which is suitable and custom tailored for themselves. So that was my idea.
Yeah, so what I'll say is that, this idea is probably about 5 or 10 years too late, because even though, in the US, like Expedia, Travelocity, Kayak, all of these people came, about 15 years ago. And, essentially there was an opportunity in India about, I would say, 8 or 10 years ago when Make My Trip started and all their competitors started. So, even though I know their apps are not very good, right? Because, they were designed 5 or 10 years ago. Yet, they're kind of focusing on all the same areas that you are, and it's going to be very hard to go ahead and enter the market. So I want you guys to think of maybe not such a big market. Think of a problem around you. It might be in your neighborhood, it can be in your school, it can be in your work environment, it can be in your college, it can be, it can be in your family. Think of some problem that, can benefit from, all the new things that are happening in the world, right? Between smartphones, internet, IoT, and all the applications that, we saw today that are possible to have. So, think of something that, that might make sense. Yeah.
Actually, I do have another idea which would be applicable to the local markets, to smaller markets, like you said. It's about basically elderly people and disabled people. They usually tend to have to go multiple, they have to go to hospitals, they have to go to doctors. And it's not very convenient for them to move around, especially if they live alone. So there exists no such service in Nagpur, which would go to their home and collect blood tests and then deliver the reports back to them. So I wanted to try and create a kind of a service in Nagpur itself, which has no such facility available.
Yeah, so I would say that, I'm seeing too many ideas that are more logistics kind of ideas. And I want you to think of an IoT idea, right? So think of how, for that same segment of old people or disabled people, how you can make their life easier. Think of, for example, like, think of, the problems that they face. Go ahead and talk to some old people. Find out what their issues are. Maybe their issues are that, the glasses that they're wearing, have the wrong number, but find out from real people what problems they have. You'll be surprised that, if, you talk to 5 people and they tell you that, we have a problem with either, not having the right glasses, or, the walking stick we have is not very strong, or, we cannot get up from the chair once we sit down because, the chair does not have handles on the side, whatever it is, I don't know. But you will find out you need to find out from real people what problems they face in life. Okay? Because, I like the fact that you've narrowed the market down to old people. That's an important market segment because these days people are living longer and longer, right? Because of modern antibiotics and everything. So what is happening is that people are living longer and longer, but that means that for the last 5 or 10 years of their life, they have a lot of sicknesses. They have a lot of illnesses, right? They are, they have to, they're bedridden, they cannot move around, but they don't die. So where previously, like, once you fell sick and you were like 55 years old, you died within 3 months. Now, because of new medicine, you live for another 10 years. But during those 10 years, there's a lot of care that has to be taken, right? And there are some real problems that these people face. And it's always good to focus on a market segment that's a growing market segment. Old people is a growing market segment. Retired people is a growing market segment. Young people coming into the job market is a growing segment. People, we all know that there are very large number of colleges that have been started, but the quality is not there. The professors are not there. The teaching facilities are not there. So, if you look at it, there's a ton of problems by each different demographic or location or whatever. And so choose one area that you think you have the ability to understand the need and then solve the problem. Right?
Thank you so much for your advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so you guys, I know we are rushing it, but the only reason to rush it is to, get people to hear each other's ideas so that, you guys can then meet as a group later on, come up with different ideas and then zero in. Yeah. Any other ideas from Pune, or you guys will be able to make your groups? Yeah.
Yeah. Raj, this relates to a pain point. We are hungry 4 times in a day. Okay, so what we need to solve is a nutritious variety of food within 20 minutes from your neighborhood. That's our solution.
Okay. Okay, so okay. I mean, like, it's a good problem area. I think you just have to think that it might be too broad, because the restaurant industry services that market, homes, housewife, house husband, can be, prepare the food, so you have to think, what kind of you have to define your need properly, and then, like, similar to what this Business Orchard people did, right? They defined, now the agricultural market is so big. In that agricultural market, they focused on pest control. And then they zeroed in on pest control for fruit and nut trees. There also they focused on almond trees, right? So as an entrepreneur, you have to zoom in. You have to zoom in on, that specific set of people who have a problem that they'll pay money for, right? So that's the whole goal. And so you have to think in your teams as to which idea you guys want to develop over the next 6-7 weeks. Okay? Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Raj, Thai Mumbai, this is Vijay.
Yes.
Instead of falling into IDA scenario, can we enter into an existing market? For example, recently, I mean, you might have heard the global warming, then traditional energy crisis and all, right? So I'm just coming to the main point. That is, if we enter into solar market, the generation of solar energy, because this is already, I mean, this is the existing market, in fact, but there is no entry barrier as such. It's a huge market. Okay. The pain area which I have found out, that is the skilled workers. There is a lack of skilled worker in this particular area, and then there is no awareness in factories or the companies where the energy can be utilized instead of going for the traditional work. Okay. And recently you might have heard India government has given some certain subsidy for this particular solar energy to boost up. So I'm for my point of view, I'm associated with IIT Bombay for getting the technical training on that. I'm in the process of that. I'm associated. Mm-hmm. So how can you from your point of view, how can you view this? And I mean, how can we, make these particular, enter into this particular business? In what way?
Okay, so clearly solar energy is going to be a massive market, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In India, it's going to be a massive market. So any market that is large will have a lot of problems, right? There'll be a lot of problems associated with any massive market. So if I think of the solar market in India, there could be, there are so many elements to the solar market. There is like installation of all these solar panels.
Right.
So
right.
you know there needs to be specific expertise in the installation of the solar panels, right? So there can be training schools for training people to install them, maintain them, and go ahead and do mechanical repairs or whatever needs to be done, right? There may be a repair business associated with solar panels. That may I'm sure there is going to be a big repair business associated with solar panels. Like there's a whole repair business associated with smartphones, just replacing the broken glass for a smartphone has become a big business, right? So similarly, for any big industry, there are a lot of niche opportunities, and the niche opportunities are things that you can discover only after you start asking questions, start meeting customers and users in that market segment, and then start asking questions, right? You might find that, for solar panels today, like, all the wiring and all that might be important. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe there is an opportunity for some import substitution of some component or the other. And once you do import substitution, you can get a cost reduction of 50 to 180%, right? So there may be import substitution opportunities. There may be maintenance opportunities. There may be training opportunities. There may be engineering opportunities for how to engineer and prepare the plot where the solar equipment is going to go. I mean, there are all kinds of companies are possible. Like in the US, if you look at it, there must be at least about 8 or 10 different segments of companies in the solar industry. Obviously, everybody is aware of the people that make the solar silicon, right? But then there are companies that actually install the silicon on panels. Then there are companies that actually sell these solar things to households and so on. And then there are companies that actually install all of these things on households and everything. And then there are people that provide maintenance, because this is supposed to go on for 20 years. In 20 years in India, given the rains, given the weather, there might be 101 problems that are created from a maintenance standpoint. So you can see that, you have to figure out which problem your company is going to solve in the most profitable way. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other team? Okay, so I think it's about 10 o'clock here and about probably 10:30 your time. So why don't you guys spend 10-15 minutes after the class ends in order to go ahead and at least try to narrow down your ideas, or at least define the ideas, figure out how you'll connect with each other, and then go ahead and get the project going. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.